Hey guys, Drifter here. Today we're doing a little bit of a 2-for-1 video. In the first part of the video, I want to talk about some very important big picture changes that Call of Duty can make to improve their next game, and I wanted to get this one out as early as possible because that'll give them 7 or 8 months to maybe implement some changes before the next game is released. And then in the second part of the video, I want to talk about some mostly positive changes that I'm going through right now. This part's going to be a lot shorter and kind of tacked on to the back. We're mostly going to be focusing on the Call of Duty brand, and all of the gameplay you're seeing right now is from last night's Call of Duty stream on YouTube and Twitch, which was my first time playing the game in almost a month, so I'm insanely rusty right now. Please forgive me, but I got bit by the Marvel Rivals bug for a little bit and all my skills went away super fast. And it was kind of a convenient time too, because I think the Call of Duty player base might be at an all-time low, which is the perfect way to transition into the part of the video where I talk about some changes that I would make, or that at least I would like to see the Call of Duty brand make in order to attract new players. And we're going to start off with number 1, which is to actually have a unified engine. I sound like a Redditor, like, actually? No, we actually need to do it because they are currently using an engine that's built off the Modern Warfare 19 tech, so 4 or 5 years old, and they've been trying to get all the developers to use that engine. The Modern Warfare 19 engine and tech improvements have their flaws, but I do think that that engine was a very big step forward for Call of Duty in general, and definitely the correct engine to make the standard going forward. However, it seems that not all of the studios were fully on board with the engine updates. As a matter of fact, a lot of Black Ops 6's current bug problems come from the fact that Treyarch appears to have developed the game on a slightly outdated version of that engine, for reasons that are unknown to me, so that after launch they had to implement some fixes that previous games had already implemented, and this was especially noticeable in Warzone, especially Warzone Area 99. The engine rollback hit Warzone like a dump truck, and I know that a lot of it's been fixed now, and even though we have one engine now that Activision says all the developers are going to be using, the developers seem to want to take it in different directions, and it doesn't always seem to be updated between studios. I will say that I think this is a problem that will become lesser with time. The longer this is the standard, the more communication we have, the more each team does their passive fixes, the less problematic this is going to be, but it is a problem right now. And I already know that Activision is probably working hard to get the studios all on the same page about Call of Duty, its engine, its dev tools, etc. But I hope that the next game releases with all of the modern fixes for the engine, and hopefully is developed by a team that understood that engine really well instead of being forced to work on it. Which leads us to point number 2. It's going to seem like a small one, but it's actually a big one for me. I don't want to see Black Ops 6 Omnimovement return. I wanted to like Omnimovement, I tried to like it, I put the time in to learn it, but ultimately I don't like Omnimovement. And I wanted to preface this by saying that I generally really enjoy fast-paced games. That fact should be self-evident based on the majority of the gameplay that I've uploaded to this channel. But Omnimovement made the pacing in Black Ops 6 really weird, and the gunfights too. The issue is that you can traverse the map way too fast and climb on anything, and that just ruins anything that resembles a map flow or spawn system or holding a point, because people can just crawl in like a horde of zombies. It's very weird. I also think it makes gunfights weird and a little awkward because you can instantly full tilt strafe in any direction while shooting. And that makes, I just don't really like that. Maybe it's an age thing. I'm getting to an age where I find it's difficult to track people. I'm not as good as I once was. Playing on mouse and keyboard, which is a different problem. But Black Ops 6 gunfights remind me a lot of Advanced Warfare ones. In Advanced Warfare, you could exo boost left, right, whatever direction, but it was really fast. So what people do is exo boost past people and then turn around and shoot them or do weird strafe tactics and stuff. And to a lesser degree, all of that same stuff is present in Black Ops 6, except that Black Ops 6 doesn't have a cooldown on the Omni-movement sprint, so you can just do it all the time. And I do think that all of these movements are easier to track with a controller that has aim assist, and they are outrageously hard to do on mouse and keyboard. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I also don't like the full 360-degree rotation while prone thing that Omnimovement has going on, because live players can just lay down on the floor and look like bodies. I'm totally here for the auto mantle and auto crouch and some of those features, though. Those were really nice. Auto sprint and stuff, those were great. But a lot of the sliding, climb everything, sprint in every direction, it made gunfights feel unintuitive to me for Black Ops 6. Player movements are both difficult to predict, they're fast, and even unrealistic, because human bodies really don't move that way. And I know that Call of Duty's not trying to be the world's most realistic game, but my caveman brain sees a body, it doesn't expect it to sprint backwards full speed and then go diagonal and then dash the other direction. It just looks weird. Don't really like that. And I put it in this section because apparently there's a rumor that Omni-movement is going to be a permanent thing in Call of Duty. I really hope it's not. I kind of had my fill of it, which is a bit of a shame. I thought I would like it. And on the topic of gunfights, I wish that Call of Duty would better balance controller versus mouse and keyboard. I will acknowledge up front that the majority of FPS gamers in the world are controller players, and that Call of Duty is a console brand, and it is a controller-dominant ecosystem and controller-dominant brand, and it makes total sense to me for controller to get the majority of the amount of dev time, and it also makes sense that controller plays better, because that's what the game is built around. What doesn't make sense to me is just how much better players perform on controller versus mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard is outrageously hard in Black Ops 6 and has been quite hard in recent Call of Duties as well. I know a lot of PC streamers have given up on their preferred input and just play controller on PC because it's just that much better. Why would you want to play with a disadvantage, right? So what I want is for the dev team to get rid of the center dot wobble movement thing. I know they recently patched it and fixed it again. I just don't want it to see it return on like an older version of the engine or whatever. I would also prefer to see aim assist reduced on controller to the point where controller and mouse and keyboard are pretty equal. I don't care if controller's better. I accept that realistically controller's always going to be better for this game, and that's totally fine with me. I just think that even if controller is better, controller and mouse and keyboard should be in the same ballpark. There should be some parity with each other, the difference isn't that big kind of situation going on here, but that's not the case at all. I think one of the more statistical examples I can give is that for the World Series of Warzone, I think they had over 100 players on various teams. I can't remember if they did 100 or 150, but I do know that only 3 of them used mouse and keyboard. We're at a 3% or less adoption rate of an input in competitive play, and even those guys performed pretty poorly for the most part. Controller just stomps them. I know like lifelong PC players that only do controller on COD. And again, this isn't to hate on controller or demand nerfs or ruin you guys' time. I just feel like the playing field should be more equal, because right now, like, controllers up here, mouse and keyboards down here, they could at least get like a little bit closer together so it's not quite so outrageous. And then finally, one more big picture idea for me is that file sizes for Call of Duty are way too big. When I reinstalled Black Ops 6 for this stream, it was over 400 gigabytes. I think it was 460, 480, something like that. And that's just ludicrous to install Call of Duty. There's no reason for that. Marvel Rivals is 62 gigs for me. The Finals was like 35. Cyberpunk 2077 is, I think, somewhere around 100 gigs. Baldur's Gate's 120. There is no reason for Call of Duty to have a monopoly on my terabyte hard drive. And this isn't just bad for PC players, it's actually extra bad for console players because they have even less space and even less ability to modify or upgrade that space. Call of Duty takes up the space of about 8 regular PlayStation 5 games, and even after all of the space on your hard drive is occupied, it still has to stream the high quality textures. I'm not a game developer. I'm not a DevOps guy that does product development. I'm not a software engineer. And I know that there are probably reasons for these file sizes, like good, like engineering, scientific ones that I just don't know. But I do know that at the end of the day, they're driving away customers like me because I have to choose, do I have one hard drive and one console dedicated just to Call of Duty, or do I play like 10 other games? And for a lot of people, that choice is quite obvious. Now, for the final little bit of the video, got some mostly good news, changes about me. We'll keep with the topic of change. Content slowed down a little bit these past weeks. I know I didn't mean to. It was actually a good thing because I got a new job. I'm employed? That's weird. I can't talk about that job right now. It's all under NDA, but I'm very happy with it. It was a very unexpected, positive development for me. So now I'm kind of juggling 2 careers. I'm doing like a job thing, and I'm also doing like a content thing, both from the bed, so that's challenging. So that's why content took a bit of a dip. Health is looking pretty good, big picture wise. I did get a little bit run down and a little bit sick this past week. I'm not sure what happened. I was getting a little bit worried that my symptoms were returning, that maybe I was gonna have to do another round of treatment or something, but as of today, that appears to have passed. So I'm treating it as if it were a bump in the road, and the big picture of that road is still positive trending. So I like that. There's still a long road ahead of me before full recovery, but I want to let you all know that things are going well. A very short one that has changed. My interest in gaming, and specifically Call of Duty, has been renewed. So I'm kind of working on something over here. I hope to be able to bring in-depth back. That's not even a high probability event. Don't, make bets on that because odds are low. But they went from 0 to something. It's possible now. So we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of work yet to be done. Guys, that is all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.